everyone, and welcome to today's Wednesday webinar with the Kentucky Small Business Development Center. While we give everyone a moment to connect, we'd just like to share a little bit about what we do and where we are. We actually have offices located across the state, covering all 120 counties, and the Kentucky network is actually sorry about that, folks, remotely at home with some dogs, is part of a national network serving the entire U.S. We are funded by the U.S. Small Business Administration and the University of Kentucky, and we receive additional support from other universities and economic development programs from across the state. We concentrate in helping with no-cost market research, opportunity assessments, and feasibility studies. In addition, we help with business plan development, financial modeling and projections, and identifying pre-venture and growth capital that fits your needs. You can reach us at the Kentucky Small Business Development Center hotline at 1-888-475-7232. You can look for help at our website, our specific website for the COVID-19 assistance at kybizhelp.com. And you can also email us at info@ksbdc.org. My name is Janet Flaw. I'm with the Louisville Center office, and I'm going to turn it over to the Louisville Center Director, David Etkin.
Hello, everybody. I'm Dave Etkin. I'm with the Louisville Center Director here in Louisville, Kentucky. So welcome to our Wednesday webinar. And with me is Tony Sears, who's the Assistant Director here in Louisville. And then we have two special guests today to help us with questions and answers. We have Marty Hammond, who is the Commissioner of Workforce and Development for the state of Kentucky, as well as Muncie McNamara, who is the Executive Director of Unemployment Insurance here in Kentucky. And so they'll be helping us with some questions that you have. And I know there's been a lot of questions about these two topics. So today we're going to concentrate on, once again, going through the new Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. And what we'll do is do a quick overview of that, plus what we know today about the payroll or the Paycheck Protection Program. And again, we've done several of these already where we've given people information and the processes and some of the other things that come out of the SBA have radically changed. So as soon as we get information, we try to push it out to you. So we're doing the best we can to make sure that everybody has the resources they need to keep their business alive and to continue on. So with that, how about we just look at some slides here, and we'll talk a little bit about the EIDL program, the Economic Injury Program first. And so if I can... All right, there we go. So the Economic Injury Disaster Loans is available for almost all small businesses and also private nonprofits. There's a difference here, like private nonprofits are most nonprofits that we know. A public nonprofit would be like a county government or a state government. Those are public nonprofits. There are some light approval requirements. You have to have a sort of acceptable credit history. If you were to ask me what credit score should I have, we don't know. The SBA has told us that they're being quite lenient with things. So the SBA must determine that the business has the ability to repay, that it couldn't, that there is a future for your business, and the business must be physically located in the declared disaster county. All counties in the state are declared disaster counties, so certainly you will apply. The Economic Injury Loan or the EIDL loan, their loans up to $2 million. They're at 3.75% for small businesses, 2.75% for nonprofits. There's up to a 30-year term for repayment, and your first payment is not due for 11 months. It's due on the 12th month. And interest accrues during that time on the funds that you actually have taken down. So it's actually a really good deal. And they can be used for just about anything that you would use for working capital, for fixed debts, payroll, accounts payable. Any bills that could have been paid had the disaster not occurred, these funds are not very restricted. What they can't be used though for is to replace lost sales or profits. Like if you were down last year and you want to pump it up, not so. And you can't use it to expand your business. These are just to get you through for the next 3 or 4 months to get to the other side of this pandemic. There's also no cost to apply, and there's no obligation to take the money if offered. So as we look at the next program in a few minutes, the Paycheck Protection Program, right now the SBA is advising us that you can take one or the other. So if you find that you might have a better outcome with the other program, you don't have to take this money if you don't need to. So there are maybe some collateral requirements. This is in flux. I've seen several competing or conflicting guidances on that, but as of last Friday, anything over $25,000 would require collateral. As of Monday, I've seen where it's up to $200,000 before you have to require collateral. So if you don't have collateral, you won't be declined, but the SBA will take real estate if it's available, and they'll require borrowers to pledge whatever collateral you have, if any. To apply for this, go to the disaster loan online application. It's disasterloan.sba.gov/ELA. And those are the numbers for customer service. They actually do answer the phone, and they're quite helpful. There's been some new developments in this loan program, which we'll talk about in just a second, that just didn't pop up until Monday. So we'll take a look at that next. But so what we'll do next is kind of walk through the new application process. The whole online application process changed as of maybe about 6 a.m. on Monday. So I know a lot of people have already applied, and there's a lot of questions revolving around that. What if I've already applied? What happens now? So hopefully we can answer a few of those questions for you. So let's take a look at the website if you haven't applied and walk through this. It's pretty easy. So when you go online, it's basically a 4-step process, and then review your work and hit send. And here is the first page that you'll see. I know this might be a little bit hard to see, but it's just a bunch of questions where you just ask what type of entity, you answer what type of entity your business is. There's also where you would say you're a nonprofit and different sizes. So just choose the right one and click that. Then as you scroll down, you just certify a couple little things here where you are that you're not engaged in any illegal activity, some basic questions that you would answer, and then click continue here. The next page is basically where you list your information for your business. So you would enter your business name and the trade name. If you have an EIN number, you would enter that. If you were a sole proprietor or an independent contractor, you would just enter your social security number if you use that to file your taxes with. And then there's a drop-down box for your organization type, a couple little questions. And really the only financial questions that this application will ask you are these two here at the bottom. Gross revenues for the past 12 months of your business. You should have that fairly easy. And the cost of goods sold for the last 12 months. So we do get a lot of questions on this question. So one of those would be, if I'm a service business, what is my cost of goods sold? If you filed taxes in the past, even if you filed on a Schedule C, there will be a breakout for your cost of goods sold. So you could use that from your tax preparer. Or basically, if you think about cost of goods sold, it is a variable expense. It is things that you would have to buy or do in order to make a sale. So if I'm a service business selling graphic design, and I farm out some of that design work to independent contractors, that may be considered a cost of goods sold. But again, you want to make as truthful a statement as you can, do the best you can. Again, this is not trying to deny people. This is this whole application is trying to get people and businesses the help they need. If you have any questions, contact us. We'd be happy to help you with answer that as much as possible. There's also, if you in a business, a real estate business where you do commercial or residential rent real estate, there's questions for that where you can kind of add that in there. A couple questions on compensation, on whether you receive compensation from other sources. The SBA used to have a test called a credit elsewhere test. And that is where you got money elsewhere that would disallow you from getting any SBA loans. The SBA has waived that requirement, so don't worry about putting anything in that one. And then, lastly, a few more questions on a couple of little things that they're quite easy to answer, and fill that out. And then click next, and then now we're into the business owner's information. This is where you just put your personal name information there and social security number. There's a place on here, let me scroll down a little bit more, that up above there that shows the percentage of ownership. So if let's say you have an LLC and you own 50% of it with another partner, each entity owner, each partner has to fill out this part of the application. And if you look here at the bottom, there's a button that says add additional owners. So you would click that and the next owner would put their information there. Once that's all filled out, click next yet again and answer a few more questions here on this last step. There's been a lot of, just to be aware, there's been a lot of reports of fraudulent companies kind of popping up, trying to sell things, and other companies are trying to charge some exorbitant fees for helping with this application. If you've paid anybody to help you with this, you're supposed to disclose that. You put that information here. However, as you can see, this is a very easy application. I can't imagine anybody needing too much help on this. And by the way, all our services are free. You can always come to us and we'd be happy to answer any questions and help you out when we can. And then this is the new thing that kind of popped up on this, was this $10,000 advance on the loan. And it's kind of considered a grant. So if you've been denied on this loan, it turns into a grant where you don't have to pay this back. So all you would do is put your bank information there, the account number and routing number, click that you would like to be considered for an advance, and then get that in the queue there. Just read your disclosures, click you hereby certified. This is all pretty well correct. And then we hit next. And then you'll see the summary page. Go through that, make sure everything's correct. On the last couple iterations of the website, we've had several people call, kind of worried about they put in incorrect information. They want to know if they could go back through, and there hasn't been really any easy way to make changes to these applications. So please make sure that everything is correct. And then hit your CAPTCHA and click submit. And that's basically it on that. I know I've kind of blasted through that pretty quickly. Tony, you still there? Is there anything you need to tell us about, or that you want to weigh in on this?
Thank you, Dave. I just wanted to make sure people understand that, again, the the economic disaster advance loan, which is what you're going through right now, that $10,000 is my understanding that it is is something that you do not have to repay. So I just wanted to make sure people understand that, because I've been getting a lot of questions on that.
Yeah, so have I. So again, things can change on a day's notice with the SBA. They're doing the best they can to cover all these bases and get help to the small business of the United States. But we tell you one thing today, and something can change tomorrow. So we're doing the best we can on this information. So. And next, we'll talk a little bit about the Small Business Paycheck Protection Program. And this is very new. We have very little information on it. We've got some, and so we'll share this with you. And then we'll just jump into your questions after that. We'll spend the rest of the hour doing what we can to answer your questions and help you out with that. So let's just take a little bit about what we know about the program just today. So what it is that it provides funds to pay up to 8 weeks of your payroll costs and benefits. It can also be used to pay only the interest on your mortgage, if you have a commercial mortgage, your rent, if you're renting, and utilities. And the funds can be fully forgiven as long as 75% of the funds used is used for the payroll portion of the loan. So this forgiveness part is really really of interest of everybody. Its payments are deferred for 2 months, so there's no collateral, no personal guarantee, there's no fees. If you don't get forgiveness on a certain amount, it is at a 0.5% interest rate over a 2-year term. Anything you want to add to that, Tony?
No, not at this time. I'm sorry. I was fielding a question. I apologize, but no, not at this time.
Okay. All right. And so who can apply? All businesses, nonprofits, sole proprietorships, self-employed, and then also independent contractors. This is a little bit different because the EIDL loan comes directly from the U.S. Treasury. It is an SBA program, and they they underwrite it and fund it. But this program, these funds are through existing SBA lenders, some credit unions, or some farm credit system financial institutions. If you want to find out if your bank or your institution is an SBA lender, just check out sba.gov. I do know that they are signing up new institutions that previously weren't SBA lenders to help facilitate this. So I think that if I was to make an opinion, this will probably go faster because banks have all these processes already in place, and there's a lot more of them than just the single SBA.
Dave, can I ask a quick question about that?
Sure.
So do you know what of the cases that you've already furloughed, laid off, or just eliminate jobs because of the type of business that you're already in?
Yeah.
How does this work with that, bringing staff back?
Yeah, you can bring them back. There's some requirements on that. And Kevin, if you would release a couple of those PDFs for folks to look at, we do have some information that we've gotten from the SBA that's a bit more detailed than what we'll go through on the slides, but I think that'll be helpful. I've also included the Paycheck Protection Plan application within the one of those PDFs that you can use to take to the bank. So it's my understanding that you can bring people back if you want to, but again, this only covers 2 months of payroll. There's kind of some tough requirements. I wouldn't say tough, but about your payroll levels, keeping them at full pay. But if you look at this document, it'll kind of walk you through some of those other things. So when you apply, since this is a bank product, the bank's doing the underwriting. Also, in addition to the application, take what you think the banks will require. Each bank might be a little bit different, but if you're a business, you know what they're going to ask for. We've all been to the bank to borrow money, so they'll ask for your at least 3 years of personal tax returns and at least 3 years of business tax returns or less if you've been in business. Whatever you've been in business for, take with them, and then a personal financial statement. Most banks will ask for those things, so you may as well start to collect them right now. You can't apply until Friday, but that's basically the first step in doing that. And yeah, go ahead.
Dave, I had a question for you. If you opened your business in March, would you be able to qualify for the 3P program?
I don't think so. I remember you had to be in business, I think by February 15th it was, but I'll look for that. It is listed in one of the PDFs we sent. I'm not seeing it right off the bat, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. With that, I think we should take some questions. What do you think, Tony? Okay,
thank you, because I've got a lot of them. So Jeffrey Brown, thank you for writing in. He says, on the $10,000 advance, will it be taken out of the amount if approved for the loan, or will it be deducted from any of the forgiveness for the 3P?
Yeah, so that's where we're a little bit unclear. So in the language we've seen, the $10,000 says advance on the loan. So if you read that as an advance, then it would be part of your economic injury disaster loan. The other issue is that the information we've seen today is that if you take one loan, you can't access the other, that you can't use both for the same thing. So, but again, our message is just to go ahead and kind of apply for both and then make a decision as things go forward.
Okay. Chad says he submitted an application to the Dropbox link on Sunday, but noticed the new process is now a click-through site. Should he go ahead and do the click-through site as well, or will Sunday submission be enough?
If you want to take advantage of the $10,000 advance, then go ahead and resubmit on the new website. And we were just as surprised as he was on Monday morning when the new site popped up too. So that's the advice we're getting from the SBA.
Are small businesses without employees but forced to close available for the 3P?
Yeah, so sole proprietors and independent contractors can also apply for that.
Okay. If your business is solid but does some work that brings down the gross income, will that disqualify you for the EIDL or the PPP?
No, it would not. Not at all. Because both of those are to help you weather the economic injury that you're experiencing because of the pandemic. So you're experiencing that, so apply.
What if you have multiple businesses? The 3P says only one time allowed, not with any other 3P.
Again, that's a gray area that's going to be taken on a case-by-case basis. I think that's since the 3P is done through a bank, then I would discuss that with them. But if you have three businesses with 3 EINs and 3 ownership structures, then I don't think that would disqualify you from applying 3 times. But it kind of depends on your specific situation. But again, get everything ready and go to your bank and talk to a loan officer and work through this.
Can you do both the economic injury and the 3P?
So what we're seeing from the SBA is no, you cannot. You can do one or the other.
And what's the loan processing time right now, time from submission to the funding?
We have no idea. But I would say it'll probably be faster with the bank, but again, who knows? Hate to be. I'm being honest here on this one. Yeah.
Do you have an idea of what the terms for the payback over the 2 years, like a monthly payment? Do you have any idea of that?
I mean, you can calculate that pretty easily. So again, it's at the 0.5%. Let's just say you were denied the forgiveness. And again, let me just preface that you have to maintain really good records on this because you have to apply for the forgiveness. It's not automatic. So you have to prove that you actually spent this money on approved sources, so you have to show that you actually made payroll with this funds, that you paid your mortgage with it. Now, when you pay your mortgage, there's a principal and interest. You can only use that money to pay the interest portion of it, not the entire payment. So you'd have to calculate that. And then again, you can use it for utilities. So you have to maintain records and prove that you use that money for those things, and then submit an application for forgiveness to the bank where you borrowed the money from, and they make the determination whether they grant it or not.
Here's a question I've seen a lot. What if you don't have 3 years of business tax returns? Let's just say you don't even have let's just say you, if you don't have a tax return, if you have never filed a tax return, bring financial statements showing what you've done, your profit and loss and balance sheet for the amount of time that you've been in business. Here's a fairly long one. It says, we have 16 W-2 salary employees and 41 1099 contractors. Mm-hmm. The contractors are paid on payroll by commission. If the contractors are not working, we make no revenue. Do we include the 1099 contractors pay in the 3P loan application?
Yeah, I think so. Again, that's kind of a gray area again, and we just got guidance last night. So these are some specific questions honestly, I'm just going to tap dance a little bit, but I would include them all, opinion only. And then when you meet with the loan officer, then explain what's going on and help, work through them with what's going on. But again, on a high level, the guidance says that the 3P can be used for contractors and independent contractors. So I would include those as well.
Okay. What if you hired a new employee in 2019, but no employees in 2018? But owner 2019 tax is not submitted yet. Can we still use the current payroll obligation rather than past payroll obligations?
So they'll want to, the bank will want to see, your payroll records over the last 12 months or whatever you have. And that's what they'll use to determine your award. So you should have those, if you were filing W-2 payroll information, you should have that fairly quickly.
So I have a few questions for the unemployment insurance office. Is it okay if I ask those right now?
Yeah, if they're still, yeah. Muncie, are you still there? Marty?
Okay.
Can you hear us now?
Yes.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Okay, good deal.
Okay.
Sorry, we were muted. Sorry, we were muted.
No problem. Okay, so this comes from James Reisner. What to be done with employee wishing to not work? Can I pay them despite not working, or should I consider them job abandonment and hire a
What
hire?
do you mean by not work? Are they refusing to work, and is it because of the COVID fears, or what is that? What does not work mean?
I don't. They just said that they said the employees wishing not to work, and they said, can I pay them despite? Can I pay them despite not working, or should I consider them job abandonment and hire others? And the second part of the question is, if I have more employees than last year, but my full-time employees is the same as, is that compliant?
So the second part must be for the SBA part, but I can address the UI part.
Okay.
So,
Hello? Okay.
Well, it almost sounds like that the employee doesn't want to come to work because of the virus. I've talked to several businesses that have had that problem. It's not really a problem, and you can certainly understand if you have a public-facing business that the employees may not want to come to work just for their own personal safety and their family safety. So, hopefully, Marty and Muncie will get back on the line and answer that question, because that is a very important question to know.
Okay, so I've got some more 3Ps if you want to take them on, Dave. You ready?
All right.
Okay. What if we've already laid people off and we can't put them back on until June because of the government mandate? Will we get any credit for the 3P if we rehire them?
That I don't know.
Okay.
That's a really good question.
Okay. Do you have any guidance on the calculation form for the 3P?
Again, when you apply on the application, you do the average. You will supply your payroll for the last 12 months, and they will take an average of your payroll for 2 months, add 25% to that, and that's kind of the calculation amount that you hope to get. Okay.
Do you have any guidance on when does the 8 weeks start, upon funding or upon approval?
Let's say, I just found this, they say from April 1st. And
hello?
Then, are you there?
Yes.
Can you hear us? This is Muncie Marty. We got disconnected somehow. Sorry, we're back.
Okay.
If you don't mind, I'll jump back. So in terms of, here's how it works. So the what we've done to expand unemployment coverage does cover employees who have a reasonable fear of for their health as a result of exposure to COVID-19, at work. However, and this is a big however, if the employer makes reasonable accommodations or offers a telecommuting option, then the employee must take that. Okay. So they can't just say, well, I'm not showing up. Okay. So for example, I'll give you the example. I spoke with a bank manager and she was concerned about this. And I told her what the language says. And I asked her a couple of questions and I said, have you closed your lobby to the public? And she said, yes. I said, have you sent anybody else home? She said, yes. I said, are you doing any other steps? And she said, we're rotating tellers, on the windows and stuff, instead of 4 at a time, 2 at a time. I said, well, so I would say, if you follow, so in that situation, basically, they're following social distancing protocols. They've closed their building to the public, right? They're spreading people out and they've reduced the number of people in their building. So that would be what you would consider a reasonable accommodation. And so the employee can't just say, well, I'm still scared, I'm not coming to work. If the employer offers the reasonable accommodation or offers a telework option and the employee still refuses to work, even though work's available, that would be deemed a quit.
Okay, thank you.
Does that clarify it?
Yes, thank you.
No problem.
Okay, one more question for you all. Are employees able to apply for unemployment benefits while they're waiting for an answer for the SBA programs?
Yeah, so the SBA programs, those go to the employer. So in this scenario, the employers had to lay people off or furlough them, and the employer is waiting to receive an SBA loan and then may call them back?
Okay.
Is that the situation?
Yeah.
Okay, so in that case, yes, they could file for unemployment benefits. If they're off work for basically, a week, at least a week, but if they're off work, then yes, they can file for that week or 2 weeks or whatever. They certainly can file while they're off work and not getting paid. One of the things we did was we waived what was called the waiting week. So previously, if you filed an unemployment claim, you couldn't get benefits for the first 7 days after you filed. So your first payment would be for 1 week instead of 2 weeks. We waived that. So now you can get the full 2 weeks. So if they're waiting for it and they file, as soon as their claim is processed and approved, then we will start paying benefits to them. And then it's up to them to report if they return to work. They need to report that to us so we can terminate those benefits. But yes, they can file and receive.
Yes, Tony, that's a question I've gotten numerous times just in the last couple of weeks, and mostly it's I don't want to impact my employees' benefit, and it will not impact the employees' benefit.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Hey, Tony.
Yes.
So I just checked into that earlier question that kind of dovetails with this one, is that if all the employees are laid off, they have until June 30th to rehire any laid off between February 15th and April 26th. So they could rehire and still take advantage of the 3P if they hire back on by June 30th.
Awesome. Thank you. So Dave, one of the questions that I keep getting is, so the advice is to apply first for the EIDL and request the 10,000 K and then decline that loan if awarded and apply for the 3P on Friday.
Yeah. Again, it's kind of and again, this is just, kind of a balancing act is, number one, you would want to project what your needs are for maybe the next 6 months for cash, with limited or no revenue coming in, and then kind of balance on what you're awarded on each of these programs to determine which is the best for you and your business going forward. So with the EIDL, with the 3P, you kind of know what you can kind of calculate that. So it's basically your 2 months of your average last 12 months payroll plus benefits plus 25%. That's what you can get awarded. It's a little bit more nebulous as to what you would be awarded for on the EIDL loan. I'm a little unclear on how they calculate what you would get for that working capital loan. So that's a case-by-case determination that each business owner would have to make.
Okay, thank you. Hold on.
Hey, David, this is Marty Hammonds.
Hey, Marty.
May I ask a question real fast?
Sure.
One of the questions, I know the loan allows for payroll and all that. One of the questions I received, will it cover employees' healthcare reimbursements and premiums?
It does. That's part of the benefit program. So
Okay, good
it
deal.
covers all that. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so let me see, make sure I'm saying this correctly. Can you use the 3P for machine lease payments for equipment that we need to continue making payments on?
No, that is not allowed. So the only thing you can use it for is payroll, mortgage interest, business rent if you have any, or utilities for your business.
Okay. This question is for the 3P. When do employees have to be brought back at the time of the loan approval or when state orders allow?
You have to bring them back before June 30th.
Okay. Does the interest on the mortgage is, hold on. Does the interest of a mortgage or a personal mortgage of the business, can you use that? It looks like they had a tough time with the question, so I don't think I want to ask. Sorry. What if your 1099 commission paid independent contractors collect unemployment? Will their wages still count towards the 3P?
Yes. Again, so the 3P is allowable for independent contractors. So again, follow the steps and go to your SBA lender and make application there. Mm-hmm.
Could you go over again what happens after you apply online for the EIDL? Do they still need to contact an SBA lender?
Not for the EIDL loan, only for the 3P program. The EIDL, the Economic Injury Loan Program, that's funded through the SBA, and your money comes directly from the U.S. Treasury. So that online application is where you would do that. The 3P, the Paycheck Protection Program, that goes through SBA lenders. So you would go to a bank for that.
Okay. Is Marty and Muncie still on the line?
Muncie had to take a call from Congressman Rogers, but if I need him, but go ahead, ask whatever question you need.
So it says, what is the program for unemployment benefits for small business owners? What qualifies as unemployment for an owner, and where do we apply?
Pretty much everyone, the guidance that we have received from the Department of Labor, not the U.S. Department of Labor, is everyone is pretty much able to apply for UI benefits. So if you're self-employed, if you're, pretty much anything, we're telling everyone to file a claim because you're going to qualify.
Okay, thank you. Question on the Paycheck Protection Program. I want to apply as soon as possible and afraid that money will run out before I get approved. Is this something that I need to rush my bank on?
That's a tough question, but so you can't apply.
It's a similar question that we've gotten too. Are UI benefits going to run out? No, they're not. We're just hoping the federal government gets the money here soon enough. So
yeah.
Okay, so this would go to unemployment. Received an unemployment notice on an employee from 19 years ago that was discharged at that time. Have no payroll info to send back for the appeal form that was included. Is this person eligible for unemployment?
Let me grab Muncie on that one. Okay. So the way we're looking at this, prior to the I believe it's January 27th. If you were on unemployment, let me grab Muncie on this one because it's a fine line. Okay, just a second.
Okay. Dave, are part-time employees covered under the 3P forgiveness or only full-time employees?
That's a good question.
I will get there. 1 second. 1 second.
Tony, I got Muncie back in here. Can you
repeat the question?
Yeah, it was
sure.
Go ahead. I'll let you repeat it.
Okay. Received an unemployment notice on an employee from 19 years ago that was discharged at that time. Have no payroll info to send back for the appeal form that was included. Is this person?
They just received a notice from 19 years ago on a claim from 19 years ago?
That's what the question says. And then, is this person eligible for unemployment?
Well, I mean, I don't know why they would be receiving something that's that stale. First of all, if it's a previous employer, we don't go looking back that far at people's previous employers. We do go looking back. If they've been with the employer for less than 10 weeks, we do go looking back at the last one, maybe two employers, but certainly not 20 years ago. So I don't know. That's a really specific question. And honestly, I would say that employer needs to contact the office or contact me so that we can look into that. Because based on the facts that are given in the question, that doesn't make much sense. I'm sorry.
Okay. Here's another unemployment insurance question. I am a single member LLC, and my business income passes through my personal income. However, 50% of my income is used to purchase inventory. What should I use for income when filing the unemployment insurance claim?
I would use the pass through the personal income taxes.
Thank you. How does salary over $100,000 work? Will it only be covered for everything under $100,000, or will none of that salary be covered? That goes to you, Dave.
So it's covered. Each employee is covered up to $100,000 annualized, but they'll only use 2 months of that to calculate it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
If your payrolls for the last 12 months equaled $90,000, how much would I be able to apply for using the threepeat versus the idle?
So just based on the guidelines, you would take the average payroll, multiply by 2, and then add 25% to that, and that would be roughly what you would be awarded.
Okay. Our company is a subsidiary of a larger company. Do we still qualify for the disaster loan for small businesses under 500 employees?
I think on the application, there's a couple questions that that will help qualify for that. But again, I think that they should go ahead and apply for the disaster loan.
Okay. This question comes from Robert Jones. He says, I am an S Corp and pay myself a dividend. Do we add that to our payroll? The dividend?
No, a dividend is not payroll.
Okay. We took a huge loss in March trying to keep people on until we were forced to close. Why would the let me see. I'm sorry. They wanted to know why the 3P starts in April. That has a lot to do with the legislation itself.
Yeah.
Let me see. If we can only apply to one or the other, meaning the idle or the 3P, what's your advice on how to determine which is best for your situation?
Again, step one is to figure out what your needs are. I mean, you would really need to to work on doing a budget and a cash projection for the next 6 to 8 months. Again, contact one of us at the small business development centers around the state. We can help you do that. Once you kind of know what your needs are, then again, you can calculate what you would get from the payroll, the Paycheck Protection Plan. We discussed that, the 2-month average plus 25%. And then with the idle loan, again, it is based on a determination that the SBA will be making. And again, I have no idea what they would award based on your situation. So you're not obligated to take the money, but I would certainly recommend that you apply for both. And then as the funds come available to you, then make a decision based on what your financial and cash projections say, and make your individual decision about that way.
Okay, thank you. This is some unemployment insurance questions. You all may have addressed this earlier, but if someone gets the idle advance, does that impact how much the owner ability to file for unemployment insurance?
No.
Okay.
It has no impact on employment.
Okay, and then if the employee says they are leaving due to a lack of child care, do they automatically get approved for unemployment insurance?
If the way we're looking at this, if the employer is giving, I think Muncie addressed this earlier, I would go ahead and tell anyone that's what we're telling everyone, to file a claim. But the issue is whether they are given, if the COVID-19 is their fear, and that the employer is not providing adequate situation for them to be, the distance and all that. But if they're just leaving without the child care, I don't believe they will qualify.
Do you know what the new turnaround is for the approval of the unemployment insurance?
Right now, everything, we're basically, everything is going under the PUA, Pandemic Unemployment Assistance. So when they file, it is automatically being approved, unless there's some mistakes on the side of the applicator or the claim. So that's being processed immediately. So we're looking at, if things go well, 13 days. But again, we received 185,000 calls yesterday, and we're averaging about 24,000 claims. Muncie just came back in. Let me ask you a question. If an employer has provided, all the separation distance and all that, and give them adequate space, meeting the guidelines by the federal government and state government, but they still say they can't work because of child care, that does not qualify them for unemployment, correct? Saying that they have to go home because they don't have child care.
Yeah. Child care is not, well, well, I don't know, because it does provide that if you have to care for a family member, I think it was contemplating
somebody's sick, or somebody's not in school,
sick, and you have to care for somebody, right? Honestly, we're probably going to have to get some guidance from the Department of Labor on what they were considering there. But here's the other thing I'll tell you is everything's in flux with this right now. The U.S. Department of Labor has not been super helpful in explaining some of this stuff to us.
It changes daily.
They don't have a lot of information to give us right now, because it's also, especially with the CARES Act, it's also new. But there is a provision for caring for a family member because of this, and I suppose that could be construed as child care. But I do want to push out there to. Since this is, businesses, I understand that keeping your employees is a concern, but I also know that it's a concern for all businesses about how this affects their unemployment employers' accounts and their tax rates. And I want to let everybody know out there that at least through the second quarter this year, hopefully this will be resolved by the end of the second quarter, but who knows, but we'll reassess at that point. But through the second quarter, we're not charging any employers individual employer accounts. We're charging them to something called the pool account. So nobody's employer accounts or tax rates are going to be really affected. If there's any effect at all, it's going to be negligible. And we're making every effort possible to keep tax rates where they are at and not raise those taxes for employers. So if it's a question of your employers going home for childcare and you're worried about them filing a claim against you, then it's not going to affect your tax rates.
Tony, I've got you on the email. So when we get clarification on whether it's child care due to someone being infected versus child care because they're not in school, I'll get that answer to you. Okay.
Thank you. Did you all answer the question, can an owner of the LLC apply for unemployment?
So, yes. Part of what's covered now, that we've been covering for a couple of weeks now, and we've been trying to get that out, but it has since been essentially ratified by the CARES Act that was passed over the weekend, is that self-employed people, independent contractors, things like that, people that were otherwise not covered,
pretty much everyone.
They are eligible to apply. They'll have to approve. They'll have to demonstrate what their base wages should be, and if they can't for whatever reason demonstrate base wages, the law provides that essentially the minimum amount that that a person like that would get, because they'll be under the pandemic unemployment assistance, would be $180, and then plus the $600 on top of that.
Do you all have any guidance on if will the business unemployment reserve be used to pay the benefits for unemployment, or will the benefits be covered by the federal government?
That's the question I just answered.
Okay.
We're not going to be charging individual employer accounts during the second quarter.
Thank you.
So it's going to go to the pool account and not to the individual businesses. So at least during the second quarter, and we're going to, reassess where we're at the end of the second quarter. But for right now, we are not charging individual employer accounts. And so that was my point about, I know everybody's worried about tax rates. And so we are doing everything we can to hold those tax rates steady, because we're trying to cover as many people as possible, but we are also very concerned about our businesses and protecting our businesses. And we don't want to do anything that's going to make it harder for people to get back on their feet after this is all over.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Dave, I got a couple of questions for you.
Okay.
I'm a veteran and I own my business 100%. Is my business considered a veteran organization?
Yes. I would
Okay.
say.
And do you have any guidance for people that that are part of an agricultural cooperative? Do we have any, what qualifies as that? Do you have any guidance on that?
I don't know exactly, but agricultural cooperatives are allowed under the EIDL loan and I believe the threepeat loan as well. They are specifically mentioned in that language.
Okay. Gentlemen, I have an unemployment question. I am a senior on Social Security working part-time and have been laid off. Can I apply for unemployment?
They can apply for unemployment if they meet, especially if they've met the base wages. But any income they've got coming from another source is what's called deductible income. And so they have to report that income, and it'll get applied against their what their benefit would be to determine what their actual amount would be. But they can certainly apply, and if those don't even out, then they would be able to draw. Yeah, so I'm encouraging everybody to apply.
Okay, thank you. Dave, do you know if there is a retention requirement after June 30th if you keep employees on for 2 months, then have to lay them off?
I think so, but I don't know. Let me. I'll answer that in a minute. Let me look here just quickly, but let's get to another question.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead and ask another question, Tony.
Okay. The question here, it says, can you use the 3P funds for interest on an equity line of credit not secured by a mortgage? My understanding is no, that you cannot do that. The payroll is for paycheck use only, for your payroll. You might be able to use that under the EIDL. You might be able to use funds under the EIDL for that. Will the 3P cover majority owners of an S corp? Up to 100,000, correct, Dave?
Not up to, but the annualized payroll is up to 100,000 for each employee. So it would be 2 months of the 100,000.
Okay.
And I don't see anything about whether you keep them for 2 months and then lay them off again. I really don't. I think that's maybe maybe they're working on a little bit more guidance on that. So we'll just have to see what happens.
It says, what is Mr. Patel asked, what is the deadline to apply for the 3P? It ends the June 30th, right?
Yeah, June 30th.
Okay. If we currently have a 7A loan, the SBA states that there is a debt relief where SBA pays up to 6 months principal and interest. Who do I contact for that?
You would contact your bank. The SBA has generally, in the past, if you have an SBA loan, the SBA would have to give permission for a bank to make a loan modification. So the SBA has waived that, so the bank can make these modifications on a case-by-case basis. So you would go to your bank and apply for a deferment agreement.
The EIDL loan application online, it asks for the cost of goods sold. Is this actually cost of goods sold, or is this operating expenses?
This is cost of goods sold. So operating expenses are those expenses that stay fixed no matter what your level of sales. Cost of goods sold vary with sales, and usually you can easily calculate that, as a percentage of your sales. So again, those are things that you would have to buy in order to make a sale. So if I'm selling a car, I have to buy a car before I can sell it. So that would be my cost of goods sold.
Okay.
So those are not
Can I step in for just a second? I have folks asking how to answer the ownership in nonprofits. When you file as a nonprofit, how do you answer that ownership question?
We haven't gotten any guidance on that, but there has to be some sort of contact person. Again, I would just fill out somebody as a contact person. And I think that when they go through that application, they'll see that you check the nonprofit box. That would be my guess. But again, that's something that we're trying to get clarification from the SBA on.
Pauline Moore asked a question, and I think this would probably go to the unemployment insurance. Is there someone who can help us navigate the paid sick leave requirement and the tax credits to help cover?
That the paid sick leave, that is not us, and I don't know that I don't know that it's been set up or established who's going to administer that. Quite honestly, but I know it's not through unemployment. I don't know if that's going to come through like CHFS or somewhere else, but it has not been set up or administered through unemployment or told that it's going to be done through unemployment.
Okay. Well, it looks like we're winding down here, so I'm going to go ahead and hand it back over to Dave, and thank you all for all of you all's questions.
Yeah. So Marty and Muncie, I really want to thank you guys for joining us today. You were great. I mean, I really learned a lot, and I'm glad you were here. So thank you, sir, for taking time out of your busy day. I know you guys are really slammed, so thank you so much for joining us today. And hopefully we can have you back again very soon. If you guys are willing, if you can fit us in.
Absolutely. Listen, we have updated our website. I shared this with Kevin, but we're trying to make it as simple as possible for folks, both the employee and the employer. So let me give you that address. It's kcc.ky.gov. It goes through every step as far as filing a claim for the individual as well as the employer. So there's a lot of great resources out there. We want to help everybody as much as possible, but I'd be lying if I said our phone lines weren't inundated, but we want to try to serve folks as fast as we can. But that website will certainly help employers and employees.
Great. And we'll send that link out to everybody that was on the call today. And so thanks again, Tony. You did a great job as always. You're the best question person I know. And Janet, thanks for helping out as well, and Kevin. And so with that, I guess we'll just call it a day. And please go out there and be safe and work on your businesses and survive and thrive later on when things get better. So,
shoot us an email if you need Muncie and I again, and we'll be glad to join you whenever we can.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. Y'all have a good day. Be safe.
Bye.
Bye-bye.